Yes. All right. So we are connecting. We are recording. Thank you, Rhonda. Oh, we got a man. I understand. It's just one of those kind of days. Yeah. It's already Tuesday, but it feels like it's not Thursday, almost Friday, but yeah. Stayed up kind of late yesterday. For those who do not know, but I think everybody probably does know at some point. My youngest nephew is actually currently at this moment a Tennessee Titan, and they had their first game last night, and actually he had game time last night actually as a rookie player. So and they did a touchdown, so they won the game. So hey, he's got a job, he's getting paid. He might have to think about 8 months, but but that's a good thing. And the other nephew is doing taking a full load of courses this semester. So that is a good thing. That is a good thing. Education. So yes. So it was a tight game. It shouldn't have been a tight game, but it was a tight game. I think they won by 19 points or 16, something. It was weird. But I'm not a football player. I'm not a football enthusiast. I only watch because you have family in it. So I'm those kind of people. So otherwise, we're good. All right, Brittany got her remote testing going, got everything in plans. Thank you for your congratulations. Yeah, the boys are doing good. I have no children, I have nephews. And so everyone knows I love it that way. I have nephews. They live with me for a time and a moment, but so, and luckily I am here with my aunt here when I'm my mother here in Dallas, teleworking from here. And other than allergies and some kind of little bugs she's doing good. My aunt, who is in a nursing home, she was diagnosed. She's asymptomatic for COVID, but other than that, she's back at her typical residence and doing well. I know that some of our members have been affected. So for those who are going back, I want to say take care, be careful. I know this is a stressful time as we go into our classes in our school buildings, or we're still teleworking from home or going back into our ESCs. So take care. And yes, go Stars, the Stars, 1999. And now here we are back to it. So, if you're a hockey fan, here we are. They're about to, hopefully, they could win the Stanley Cup and we can move forward. So here we go. But to the nitty gritty of it, let's see. I got so many windows open here. So I just wanted to remind those who are new to this, this is where you can find resources for guidance on COVID-19 guidance from our TA website. So there's a couple of things there is in the main page that you will link from. Take it every now and then, go hunting on it and find different pieces. You'll find your attendance information. You'll find things on funding. So while I mentioned that, we're also working on funding and answering some other questions. So be thinking about that. Then you have your instructional continuity planning, where you can find your links for other things, resources, documents for the core curriculum. And then we have our SPED and special populations links and information. And I will send out, when our next piece of documentation goes out on the website, I will send you a listserv link, but this is where you will find it also. So the last document that went out was our GTFAQ, which is August 24th is on the date of it. That is the document that we will be addressing today. And there's a few other things. So I did put some other stuff in here, but and we're really looking at our program services today and how talking about how you're serving students, and then kind of open it up for those who want to share what they're doing and or questions on how we can do that. And this can be a very nice open chat. But for those who because I know we got some new GT coordinators out there. If you are not receiving the listserv or have not did not know that we had a listserv, this is the link to get any announcements from my division or for any division in the agency. A couple of things I do recommend, especially if you are really trying to be in the know what's going on, definitely get our GT newsletter, but then also get to the administrator address newsletter. That will actually give you any updates that's coming from the agency that goes out to all administrators. You will get that piece of information. So there's a few others. Advanced Academics has one. Actually, you probably cannot click the link at this time, but I will see if I can put it in the chat for you. You know. One minute. There we go. So I just stuck that in the chat. All right. And then our next piece is our upcoming GT Tuesdays. So we are here today. Our next one is October the 13th. I skipped I think there's like the 27th or 29th or something in September. I skipped that one. Yeah, I skipped that one, and I might just make that one our office hours if we actually need another one. But our next one is October the 13th, October the 27th in the afternoon, and then at our regular time, and then November the 10th will be our last one for the fall edition. And then I will get our spring dates up, and then I will post these on the website. And then I went to make this a little bit easier. So this Zoom link for both of these will be the same throughout. So there will be no changing of Zoom links. You just do a recurring calendar on your calendar. The same link will work for each one. So I'm trying not to change it up. And then you can find it, I'll show you later, but you can also find these on the GT Education Resources page at the very top. So I'm working top down this time instead of down. So you should be able to find it there. All right, and Dr. Johnson actually sent me a email this week and to include, yes, they are, sorry, y'all, got sidetracked. Naomi, yes, they are Central Time. So it is our time. Well, I forgot about El Paso, but yeah, Central Time. Two couple of pieces of information for identification. As you see, there is, so she just wanted to share, and there is a screening assessment for gifted elementary and middle school students that is similar to COGAT, and it is available by Poof Rock Press. So if you want to look at that, so instead of using Torrance test, if you've ever given the Torrance test, that is, you know, Torrance is a beautiful test, but it can be very, so it depends on how well you have normed yourself into testing and looking at those students' papers. And so as a person who's administered and tested and scored, you really need to know how well are you norming your ability. And then I compared to sending it out and paying for that. So that is an option. And then you have the test for mathematical abilities. There's a second edition. And so those are a couple of more options for you to think about as we move forward into looking at all of your options. I'm always promoting, I will not endorse any specific test or measure, but I do suggest you always think about and consider what are your options, what are you looking for in your program services, and how you're providing services, because that relates to what are you administering a test for. So what are you testing for should match what are you providing services. So if you don't know what you're, so if those are not in correlation, you might want to start thinking, what can we do differently? Or is this the right thing? And then also you have to wonder, because we do know so many people are always finding options and variances or sample tests out there. You might want to think, what is my next option? Or change up every couple of years, just to think. Okay. So we're talking about service design, and I just want to remind you, this is a local district decision. What you do in your district and how you do it is your decision. What the state plan and the guidance that we're providing with my support of the CAC and from others is really, so your state plan is your standards of service. We help you with our interpretations of those standards, and then you have the law. But when you get to the nitty-gritty of what you're doing day to day, what does that learning continuum look like? That is a local district decision. Some of you may have, it's all in the core classroom. Some of you may have a pull-out program, what curriculum you're using, how you're providing services, what are your other out-of-school services. Those things are all a part of this conversation. And as you look at your programs and looking at your services, especially now as you're like, okay, how do we change this up for a virtual, a remote learning process, a hybrid learning process, or we're all in the classroom? Or what are we doing? Or I'm being told we're going to push it all into the regular classroom. What does that look like? And then how do you support it? How do you make sure that those services are being done? Because if you remember, last year or the year before, there was a legislation passed called HB3. And HB3 says you have to certify your programs, and how you certify your programs and making sure that you are providing services. So, and going into that conversation, and remember, because it's coming up to that time of October again, you have to code your districts per one or more of these 5 codes. Okay, hopefully no one coded 00, but I think there was one, not 2, but I think there was one. But as you look at your district codes, and so we're coming up to that phase at this point in time where we're looking at those districts, and those districts that did not use their funds, those districts that did not code, because it's coming up time to report out on who did not use their funds, who did not code their district as providing services. And if you remember, the commissioner has the right to take those funds. So as we move forward, I want you to really think about how you're doing that, making sure that's happening. And because at this point, that's our next step, is what is happening out there in your campuses. We're working on cleaning up the other pieces of the next phase of the certification process and how that will look, and we will provide training on that. So don't think it's going to be here, throw it out there, and we're not going to do that. And so just think the next steps. So I'm looking at some of the questions, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, so think about what are your array of learning opportunities. And at this point, you really got to think, or how are you providing it? Are you providing a menu choice sheets out to students that's available either on your learning platform or on your district website, or is it a packet that goes home with their lunch program? So there's so many options out there as you go through this. Or is it you have your designated teachers who are actually providing those services during the school day and how they're doing that, and everyone knows what that process is. Now, as we go through this and as you think about it, one, you cannot and will not be in everybody's classroom. one, you are not the sole source of all of this information. So some of it has to be put on your administrators and those who go forward. So you have to think how to equip them to make sure that these things are also happening and that this is happening, occurring on their campuses and is a part of their program services. So just don't think you are you're probably the portrayer of the information and making sure that you as a district, and some things you as a district have more control of. This is what I provided out to my district on how we provide services, and these are our expectations, and these are our goals. But when you know when it, but everyone knows that one campus or those two campuses is they're doing their own thing. And you know, it's like, okay, and those are the ones you silently at night pray, like, Lord, don't let them audit that campus because we'll be in deep trouble. And then sometimes it's like, Lord, let them audit that campus so that we can get some things corrected there. So you just got to think about where you want to go and how you're working it. And those are the considerations. As you know, everyone does something different. I don't believe there is two districts in the state that does the same thing. There are no two campuses in the state that does the same thing. I know you try to get to that point, but sometimes it's not there. So kind of looking at our synchronous instruction and what are we looking at? So, you know, that's your real time, your live virtual GT instruction between your GT coordinators. And, you know, some of you, it's easy to coordinate that, easily to work those processes out, working within those campuses. And then some, you already know your GT teacher has been pulled already to do a regular classroom, and they're either going, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. So just be realistic. And at this time, you got to be flexible. And I'm going, okay, so look here. Okay, before I keep moving. So yes, you will have access to the presentation. So array. So array, you decide what are your options. So within your district, so if you're pull out, you got pull out as a program, whatever your curriculum for those pull out programs are. But you might have different measure, you know, a kindergarten pull out program might look like a little bit different than your first and second grade pull out program or your third and fourth, because it might have different timing, different opportunities, or you got different phases. So you got different means of services, or you have, okay, some, you know, part of our process is we're going to look at robotics. And then some we're going to be more of a science theme. And then some we're going to be looking more of a language arts theme. And then we're going to, you know, there's a big push, and we got this at this campus, and they're all into Wales and going into that process. So, but everyone is doing something related to your core, your standards, your process. Where at your secondary level, it may look like you have different opportunities of one, especially at your middle school, we're going to track these students and we're going to telescope or fast track, compact certain courses where 6th and 7th grade is going to be mixed together, 7th, 8th grade is going to be together. So by 8th grade year, they're taking the high school course of that subject. So you're accelerating 2 subjects, you're covering all the TEKS and the materials. That's your learning opportunity. That's part of your array. If you have choice boards, that might be a piece of it, but it might not be all of it, because part of it might be you got the choice boards, but then we are always doing some kind of product, or that choice board leads to the products and performances. You have to think, what are your opportunities? What are those learning experiences you want your kids to have that may look across all the way throughout the district, and how that will work. So, and then we get into our asynchronous learning. So what are those services you're affording the students? And this might be where some of you are part of your time is engaging into this process. Looking at what are those experiences, how they're receiving it. It might be a touch point of an email with your teachers and your students at certain points, or to make sure these things are happening. So thinking about your options, your considerations as we move forward. So you as the district will define what you want to happen, and you might be the ones who put out your options, and then this is how it looks that you have approved. And these are the things that we can think about. I think every district does it a little bit differently. And then when it's time to share, if someone would like to share how they do it, I will be welcome your conversation on that. All right. So when you think about it at this point, you got to think about, as you put out these options and as you look at your program and in your program services, what are you doing K through 12? How are you building up to students, having that advanced product, having that professional product that is judged by people from the field for those services? How are you getting to that level? And I think that's the question of what are you doing grade by grade that goes beyond each point? And how do you dictate and make sure that those things are full encompassing and that allows for student growth? And then they still need that opportunity to work together as a group with other students and then independently during the school day. And how does that happen? And as you look at that, and as you walk through, a couple of things we actually put out to give you a further guidance. And then this is also looking at flexible grouping and those patterns for investigations. But if you have not looked at our language on the interpreting the state plan and the guidance there, as you look at this, what, we say a minimum, and we've always said that for years now, is a minimum of 3 students. But we've further gone to the point of when you really look at 33% of your student population or that class roster, if they're made up of GT students. So we're putting in some parameters that allow you to think about rearranging and reconfiguring your student populations to allow for more students to be into the process of being clustered together. Especially during this time, it may be easier to cluster your students together into one classroom compared to sprinkling them across classrooms, where that one teacher can have dedicated time to teach, to meet their needs, to meet their goals. So as you think about this, I know some of you are there, some of you are, we've already gone into school, but as you have to think about how can we reconfigure, how can we do things as we move forward. This is an option. This is our guidance at this time. So think about where you want to go, how you want to move your students around, and to make sure that their services are being met and their needs are being met. So let me get back into the chat right quick, because I'll scroll up to the top. There we go. So the links are in the chat. Central Time. So the SEL training from TA will come out soon. Actually, yes, we will resend that out to our ESCs. And So the question on funds, if you were not able to use all of your funds last year because of school closures, they are taking that into consideration. So use of funds, as long as you did use some funds, you're okay. Um, it's if you did not use any funds where you really need to be concerned, but use, yes. Uh, Last year was a special circumstance. This year will probably be another special circumstance that we'll think about and always remember. Um, do high schools ever code 01 pull-out programs? Yes, there are some school districts out there that do high school pull-out. Um, I know there are some in the Region 13 area that do it. Um, and then maybe we'll get some of them to jump on board and talk about their programs and their services. And then, yes, these will be put up. I will, today will just rough. I can't always guarantee that they will be put up prior, but I will do my best to put them up as soon as possible. So, hi, Michelle, and the 33%, that was guidance that was put out by the CAC on our interpreting the state plan on the new website. I'll show you that page in a little bit. So on the use of funds, that report, your PIC 21 use of funds, pretty much most of those are going to be public information report. I will find out definitely where that will live and where will that be published and who receives it. And I will share that next time. All right. So wanted to add in, I moved around where I put these state goals. So as you think about your program services and thinking about how you're serving kids at this point in time, I just want you to remember, as you look at what's going on and what are we doing and what are you expecting kids to do? What are we looking at? How they're doing their own self-directed learning, their thinking, research, and communication. What are they developing? What performances are they doing? Is it showing their own individuality and creativity? And then the key thing to always remember, especially as some of you have been moved to a whole different platform, a whole different process, how is it advanced compared to students of similar age, experience, and or environment? As I've been looking at different resources and different materials that's being provided out there, I know there is a hard struggle and for differentiation, because some publishers do not see it, do not understand it, and they have scaffolds for our, or call it acceleration for the students who are struggling. So what are you doing and how do we, so I think our question is, how do we reflect and think about how do we build in those skills and those sets to support our students? Because that has really been on my mindset at this point of how do we get our instructional practices to our regular content teachers to up their game to support our students during this process and not just do what they do for everybody. And sometimes that's the hard part, and that's a hard conversation, especially when the materials and the support and the communications do not support that. So, this time. So at this time is that my open for conversation, open for the chat. How do you do that? How are you providing services? How are you changing up your program for this remote, this hybrid conversation? What are you doing? Anybody wants to share? It is your time.
Hey, Monica, it's Michelle. I'm really concerned that the 33% kind of seems to have come out of nowhere, and there's a lot of people that are caught kind of by surprise with that showing up. It's even in a different font in the document. I mean, if you go look at the FAQ. I realize that the 6 to 8 is best practice in the literature, but I think we need to be really careful, especially with as many new people as we have serving in these capacities across the state, that we don't commingle the understanding of legal requirement versus best practice, because we're going to get some people in trouble in their districts if they try to go in and say, oh, it's got to be 33%. So you've got 21 kids, it has to be 7 kids. That's not feasible in a lot of scenarios. And even in our situation, as you mentioned earlier, there are a couple of campuses here and there that balk at that kind of thing. We were able to get the 3 as the absolute minimum because that's what's in the law. But I think if we keep pushing the envelope and calling best practice law when it hasn't really shown up that way, we're going to hurt ourselves more than we're going to help ourselves.
Good point. And that's why we still have that minimum of the 3 that you are still is what we're considering a group. And then that is your next point of where you can, if you can work it, or if looking at the best interest. So I always say you have to look at what is best for your school district and what is part of your processing. Mm-hmm. And as you move forward. And then I hear you, Margot. Some it works for. Go ahead, Margot.
Okay. Many years ago, I listened to Dr. Paul Slocum, and his recommendation was a critical mass of 40%. And he said, and I found that to be true, both as a teacher and in my current position, that if you've got 40 to 50% of your students identified as gifted, they will drive the class forward. Now, some classes or grade bands may not have that enough students to make that 40%. We ask that our campuses try, and when they scatter them all over the place instead of clustering them, we're asking them to this year to put it in their campus improvement plan to work harder at clustering our students. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. And so I just want to also remind you that the FAQs are always our best bet and best guidance documents. The law is the law. FAQs are our guidance and interpretations of the law. There's 2 places I always refer people to always think about what are your parameters, what are your goals. One is the state plan, the law, rule, and then also your district policy. So you have to put all those pieces together as you go forth in there. So you have to think about your process and what you're looking at. And sometimes it is best bet that you can get those 3 kids together at the minimum. And then some you can do that 33, 45, or some of you actually have full day, all day, they sit together all day. So I think you really have to, some of these things, as you said, people have questions about the audits and thinking of that. This is not, when we look at the state plan and those questions there, that's not going to be affected there. So don't misconstrue the 2. All right. Anyone else wants to share or talk about their programs?
I have a question.
Yes.
So my question is, in going through this training, because I am new to this, and I know it says that there are to have project-based material as well. Is that like a project each grading cycle, each semester, each quarter? Is there a certain minimum to it?
Nope, that is a local district decision as part of your array of learning opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Someone is asking about your synchronous plans. And if what have you shared or put out there. So while we're still sharing, I would like to build out a resource document for those out there. So if you want to share what you have put out or what your district has provided for those asynchronous or synchronous attestations, or what are you doing at this point, I think that will help the entire district. Thank you, Rhonda. TPSP is always a great source and tool to use as an option, as a program service for projects. Pretty much got everything there. I do need to get out for those who are on the call, the finals from our June results for TPSP to those students in those school districts. And then that was a conversation to think about for next year also, so. Sorry. Okay, so I saw the question on guidance, further guidance. That guidance is under review by leadership at the agency. And so once that gets through final clearance, and it may have to go up to the governor's office, because that's one piece also, then it will be published. So hopefully, I was hoping that it will be published this week, but it is still, I have not got word back on it. So we're looking at that. No, I do not have a Canvas course link for GT services, but I will investigate.
Is there anyone servicing their students through Schoology on as GT cohorts or GT clusters?
This is Leanne O'Loughlin from Castleberry. We're not using Schoology, but we are using Canvas. So we've developed a Canvas course for all of our GT students according to banded grade levels.
Are they?
We're using.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are they submitting their projects onto these courses? And if so, are they being rated and graded?
Again, this is Leanne. What we did was we created choice boards. We're meeting with our students as a synchronous pullout once a week. And then the students have thematic choice boards where they're going in and making decisions about which one of the activities and projects that they want to work on. Some of them are very easy, although enriching, and some of them are more in depth because our students are, like a lot of kids, are struggling. Their families are struggling financially. They're moving around a lot. So we're trying to provide some flexibility. But yes, they are turning in assignments and they're receiving feedback. We're not using a rubric at this time to evaluate. We're trying to encourage engagement and keeping in touch with those kids especially the social emotional piece as well. But no, we're not doing a hard evaluation, but we are providing feedback.
How are you getting the GT students to want to participate when they may feel overwhelmed with the amount of work that they're getting online remotely?
So that was a concern. That's why we created the choice board, and it looks very inviting and fun, basically. Some of our kids have done maybe 1 out of 9 activities for the month, and some have done 6. A lot of it has to do with the relationship that they have with the teacher who is their pull-out teacher, the length of time that they've been in our district, or are they just brand new. So some of the students are motivated because their parents have been in the districts. They have brothers and sisters who have been in the district, and they're enmeshed into the culture of the district. And some are less engaged with the activities, but we're trying to build on those relationships and encourage the students during that 1 time a week pullout. And we also, the pullout teachers are contacting the students and the parents as well, and encouraging them to get on. And everything's also available for the parents to see. And I've also had parent conferences when we see that nobody, the child isn't participating at all, because we've been in since August 12. So we've been in for over a month. So I'm also meeting with parents virtually and talking to them about the benefits of it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else would like to share?
And this is Rain from Round Rock, and I was typing this in the chat, but we use Schoology. Our teachers built courses, and they said they use it they call it in the sandbox, so that they're not graded specifically. In the fall, they're a little bit more flexible, and they do SEL, and then we do teach critical thinking and research skills that build to being able to do our advanced level products performances in the spring. We use Think Law a lot in the fall, the Think Law lessons, to build those skills, and we give feedback, but it's not graded per se, like on the report card grade. And then we have a rubric that we use when they do their advanced level products and performances, which could be TPSP, or we also have the Envision materials and some other projects that have been approved, but that is more evaluated in the spring at this time. Typically, we'd probably say 1 of each in the fall and the spring, and sometimes the 1 in the fall is more of a group. But that rubric is also for growth, is the way we designed it, is not to be so much of a punitive or a graded thing, but as these are minimum expectations, and then where do we want to see you grow each year as you continue to do projects each year.
How large is your district?
So they're probably a large suburban, probably. Rain or Michelle, how many students do you have? Oh, there you go. I was about to go about 50. Oh, I'm good.
Okay. So are there any examples of small districts? We have about 800 students in our district.
We're small. We're 4A, and we're about 3,000. So we're very small.
Okay. And y'all are using Canvas, huh?
Yes, our whole district uses Canvas. So we were doing all secondary Canvas when COVID hit. And then the parent feedback we got was they were irritated, and rightfully so, with all the different learning management systems, Google and Seesaw and Canvas, and God bless our parents. They were doing the best they could just to keep up. So everything, our LMS is Canvas, and they can connect to different things, but everything is on Canvas. So they can connect to Google, or they can connect to Seesaw if they're working with littles, but everything originates, and we have a district template for the homepage for every Canvas course, K through 12.
All right, so we've got a few minutes left. Just wanted to remind those for your early childhood students, an option or thing to consider is on the website is your reading strategies for advanced primary readers. Great resource for you. There are actually some checklists in there, some different strategies to think about using with your early advanced readers. This is where you will find the students. As I said, I'm going to actually at some point revamp this where all of last year's was going to go to more of an archives kind of setting, but then you'll have the prominent ones of at the top will be the latest session. So that link is there. And then we have our guidance for interpreting the expectations of the state plan document that you can always review and run to for further information. Just wanted to also let you know that Texas Home Learning is up in the works, and it is working off of 3 platforms of the expectation is one, using Schoology, or you can get a package to use on your own school district's platform or hard copy documents or soft copies. We are working to incorporate all learners, and it will be available for pre-K-12. Some programs are up and available live now that you may want to kind of go and look and see if this is something at some point you want to consider. And there are videos and webinars for the different vendors and platforms that they're using as you go forth. Then one other resource that has come available is the Project Restore, which is a trauma-informed training series that you can, that is self-directed. It is for your educators as they move forward. There are 6 videos if you want to just kind of check it out. It is on talking about trauma, stress, how to cope as an educator, and then how to help your students to cope during this process. So feel free to use that free resource. And then the final is a conference opportunity. Dr. Joyce Miller provided this information for us, and the Texas A&M Commerce is providing a virtual symposium, What Truth Sounds Like. The speakers are Dr. Donna Ford and Dr. Andrew, I want to say Johnson. I want to make sure I got that right. And Andrew Young, sorry. So they have ambassadors. And so the ambassador and Andrew Young and Dr. Donna Ford will be talking. It is a free conference, so feel free to register. Registration is still open, and it is on September 24th through from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So I did my registration, and that's my alma mater, y'all, so please, I love it. Any other questions before we wrap up and depart? Because it is 3:55. I like to keep it to our hour.
Ms. Brewer.
Yes.
Hi, could you go back to the second to the last slide, please, so I can take a picture of it?
Wait, this one or the one before?
The one before your school,
Project Restore?
the training, that one, yes.
Text. You want me to put the link in the website, in the chat?
Yes, ma'am, but I also took a picture as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and I as a reviewer of these, I do say they are very informative. They are self-paced, and so I will say if you are looking for something to support your staff and yourself, take the opportunity. All right, and here is my contact information. I didn't update that, I'm sorry. Here's my direct line at the agency. So if you ever need to call, I will get the number to call. If I do not answer, because typically if I'm in a session like this, I do not. Please leave a message and I will get back to you because I got one now. But so that number is 512-475-0626. And then you have my email. Always reach out. I will I do my best to always make myself available to your calls or your emails. And sometimes you might have to remind me because it's been a busy September. But I want to say I hope that everyone is doing well. I hope everyone has had a good school experience for the start. I know it's kind of trying, not knowing where we are, how we're moving forward, and how long we may be in remote settings or in face-to-face or in school one day and out of school the next. And so, yes, I saw that. I need to fix that. So our next meeting is actually, let me look at my calendar. I want to say October. Yes. So ours is October 13th. So I will put that in the chat. And that is a morning session. All right. So if no one has any questions, I will say have a great weekend. Let me see what's in the chat. And thank you for sharing today and for coming. And till next time, everyone. Bye.